The leap from the Atari to the NES was a big one, in more ways than one. When Nintendo released the NES, it wasn't just another console to choose from, it was an event. Its impact was so big that the original Super Mario Bros. Still remains as one of the best-selling video games of all time, selling over 40 million copies. Luckily, my cousin who lived next door bought one, and along with it a copy of the iconic game. It played different, looked different, sounded different, and even felt different than anything I had experienced before. I was hooked. I remember in the first few days that this great machine found its way home next door. Ivipla, which is what we call our next door neighbors, who by the way happen to be my godparents, and also my godmother is my mother's sister. We're going to a wedding and the whole family were going to be away for a few hours. I immediately asked, "Can I go play?" I got the A-OK, and as soon as they left I rushed next door, booted up Mario and started playing. I wasn't very good at the game, in fact I wasn't good at all. However, that was not the point. In fact, in those couple hours that I was in my cousin's room, the further I managed to reach was either the second or third stage of the first world. And when my mother came to tell me it's time to leave, while walking to our house, I was describing to her my experience with a level of excitement as if I had just gone on an adventure to another planet. That's kind of what it felt like. Over time, my cousin and I became better at the game and were progressing through it, not knowing when we actually reached the end. We had heard rumors that the last stage was World 4, Stage 4, but when we passed that stage, boom, World 5, Stage 1. We did not have access to this type of information back then as we do now. It was all word of mouth, so we had to discover everything the hard way, which is something that definitely added a lot to the whole experience. Every new discovery was an event, and we had to figure out what each item did ourselves. We had convinced ourselves that the one-up mushroom actually makes Mario or Luigi slightly taller. The multi-coin block has a specific number of coins. No, it doesn't. You hit it once and then wait a few seconds and hit it again, then you only get 2 coins. Oh man, what a time to be alive. Eventually, a few more games were added to the collection. Games such as Boulder Dash, the Terminator 2, and DuckTales. Boulder Dash had its moment in the limelight, however it did not last long, at least not as long as the others. It was fun for a while, as it was something different, and there was some challenge to it, but it did not give me the same feeling as Super Mario did. Then came DuckTales. DuckTales is a platformer like Mario, but not in the same way. Scrooge McDuck, the character you play as, moves slowly as opposed to Mario, who speeds through each level like he forgot the oven on at home. But he makes up for it by having actions he can perform with his cane, adding a twist to the platformer formula. While touching a wall or an object and then walking towards it, allowed you to swing the cane and hit it, which in some cases revealed an item you could pick up. In other occasions, the object would break, allowing you to access another area, and in some other cases did absolutely nothing. In addition to that, when jumping, while on the way down, you could tap down on the D-pad, which made Scrooge's cane become a pogo stick, which gave you an alternative way to move around, or in this case, jump around, or even hit enemies on the head and kill them. This game drew me in as much as it did for many reasons. The gameplay was part of it, but it was also familiar, as I was a big fan of the DuckTales cartoon. The soundtrack was great, and there was also a storyline which added a goal to work towards. The story is not really complex. Scrooge is hunting treasures in order to become the richest duck in the world. It is truly amazing how games that were smaller in size than a random screenshot of in-game footage of said games were able to immerse you in these great adventures and make you want to play them again and again and again. After some time, once DuckTales had been replayed tens of times start to finish, another game made its presence: Terminator 2. Terminator 2 was different in terms of the setting. Unlike the previous games we had played up to now, this game was dark. And I don't mean just in terms of brightness or the time of day. You had guns and were able to actually shoot your enemies with bullets, and they would die. The background music reflected that perfectly. You actually felt like you were inside a dangerous world where bad guys were trying to kill you, and the main antagonist, the T-1000, made sure you were aware that he was on your tail at all times by making appearances in various levels. On one occasion, he's chasing you with a trailer down an empty riverbed or motorway or whatever these things are called, and is trying to run you over while you're on your motorbike trying to outrun him, while avoiding obstacles and shooting several gates that are in your way in order to open them and ride through instead of crashing into them and dying. The distorted sounds of the track playing during this chase really amp up the tension. On another occasion, you're running around a facility of some kind where he randomly appears in his liquid metal form and attacks you. All this while you're trying to find your way through a maze of several floors, elevators, and doors, trying to achieve an objective. The game keeps you on your toes throughout. Eventually, we had our fill of these games. Amazing as they were, you could only play the same games so many times. Christmas came. My parents bought me a gift. I opened it up with excitement. What was it, I hear you ask? It was a Famicom. Or at least, I think it was. I did not know at that time that an alternative version of the NES existed in Japan, and only realized that a few years ago. Still, it did not matter to me. I had never been more excited about anything. If only we had video footage of the moment that I opened it up. I was running up and down our living room like a dog that has the zoomies. This console, we'll call it the Famicom, came with a few cartridges, some with a single game on them and others with multiple games, and in some cases they had the same game more than once, each with a different cheat code enabled by default. From all the games that I played on this Famicom, 3 were the ones that truly stood out. I know this since they are the only 3 that I remember playing. These 3 games were Contra, Super Mario Bros. 2, and my favorite, Adventure Island 2. Contra I played till my thumbs bled because it was fast-paced fun and not too difficult. The fact that I had cheats enabled allowing me to have the best weapons right from the start may have played a role. Super Mario Bros. 2 I enjoyed, but always got stuck at a certain point and eventually just gave up. The game that really kept me coming back though was Adventure Island 2. This game had everything. I can't tell you how many hours I spent playing it, failing, trying again, and going a little further, failing again, then jumping right back. You know how you sometimes have a very vivid memory of a random moment in your life where it is imprinted on your brain and you remember details such as what you were doing, where you were, what was happening around you at that time? I happened to have a memory like that while playing Adventure Island 2. I must have been around 6 at the time and I was trying to finally reach the end of the game. My parents were next door and there was a wedding nearby. I don't know how I know it was a wedding, but it was a wedding. I could hear the music blasting from the distance and I was in my room alone with one goal in mind: finish Adventure Island 2 for the first time. I was careful trying not to lose any of the dinosaur power-ups I picked up, making sure to only use them when I had to, and carefully calculating every step to ensure I do not lose any lives due to rushing it. I slowly but surely progressed through the game until eventually I reached the final boss. I had reached the final boss before, just never managed to kill him. I had learned the positioning, the traps, and approximately how many times I had to hit him for each stage of the fight. My heart rate must have been through the roof, but I was focused. I kept attacking, avoiding the projectiles the boss threw at me while being positioned to also avoid the poison dropping from the ceiling until... I remember the relief I felt once the end credits rolled and I realized it was actually done. I laid back on my chair, taking it all in. This was a great moment for me. Nothing could top it, or so I thought. A few days later, my cousin comes home with a new game. What can I even say about Super Mario 3? For me personally, this is the best Mario game of all time, with Mario 64 being a close second. Am I biased in looking at these games through rose-tinted glasses? Maybe, maybe not. I stand by my statement. This game was just a whole new experience. It wasn't just another NES game, just better. It was in a completely different category. Overworld, bright colors, exciting power-ups, secret rooms with more power-ups, shortcuts you can take on the overworld if you acquire some of these power-ups. It was almost like an RPG platformer. You even had an inventory. It truly felt next gen. Talking about power-ups, it wasn't just the Fire Flower suit anymore. You had the Tanuki suit, letting you fly and even turn into a statue to hit or protect yourself from enemies. The frog suit, allowing you to navigate underwater levels with ease, or the hammer suit, which allowed you to throw hammers and take out everything in your path, similar to the flower suit but with much more powerful projectiles. Each new suit felt like a whole new way to play the game. And what about the bosses? For the first time, we weren't just fighting Bowser's clones, we had the Koopalings. Each one was unique with their own weird name and fighting style, making the fight feel like a fitting ending to that chapter of the story. And last but not least, the overworld map. It wasn't just a selection screen, it was a world in itself. You had to navigate it, you had to beat the mini-bosses in the fortresses to clear the path. You could take shortcuts with the magic whistles, which were hidden in places we had to either hear about or stumble upon, and upon using them from the inventory would immediately take you to one of the next few worlds. The fact that you could even carry and use items from an inventory before a level, that felt revolutionary. It truly was the first time a Mario game felt like a complete adventure, not just a series of levels. We had played this game so many times that I was able to finish it having around 80 lives to spare. I had become a Mario Pro. However, all good things come to an end, and after I had my fill of NES and Famicom goodness and repeatedly finishing these amazing games, I needed something new. Then, in the summer of 1992,